you all. Welcome, everybody. I think this is going to be a lively meeting tonight. And so we will officially start. We're being recorded. And I will pass the baton. I will make Jack French a co-host in case he has something that he wants to show us on the screen for his first 15. So let me just do that. Oops. Let's see. Remove. What is going on here? Let me see if that. Oh, I think I have to do it from the main computer. Just a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Jack French. Participants. All right, Jack French. Make co-host. All right, Jack, you have the keys to the kingdom, and we will pass it over to you.
Okay.
And ask everyone else to mute, please. Otherwise, I'll mute all of you, and then half of you won't be able to unmute, which could get ugly. All right, I'm not seeing a lot of people muting. All right, well then, here we go. In progress. And good Lord, a little feedback there. And then Jack, if you would unmute.
And are we ready?
We're ready.
We're ready.
Take it away, Jack.
All right. I have long contended that the earliest and the easiest way to determine whether a person is a true old-time radio fan is to ask them what they think about the Happiness Boys. And if they go, duh, then they're not a true fan. The Happiness Boys consisted of two guys, Billy Jones, Ernie Hare, who came to radio in 1921 and stayed there until 1939. They began even before network radio. In 1921, they were on WEAF in New York. When NBC was created, they got on the NBC network in 1926, and they stayed there until 1929 when Hare died. So they were on during the entire Great Depression. They consistently were one of the most popular shows on radio. Although when we listen to them tonight, you'll be scratching your head at why anybody would listen to this for several years. They basically had a 15-minute show. They sang songs together. They portrayed themselves in improbable skits. They recycled old vaudeville jokes. And they even occasionally had a guest star who may or may not have been very famous or very good. They put on skits that were not terribly funny at all, complicated with a lot of sound effects, and all of which you're going to hear tonight. When they came to radio, one of the first things they did was to change their name to anybody that would sponsor them. And that's because in the 20s, you weren't allowed to have commercials, but you'd just work it into the name. So whatever their sponsor was, that was their name. By the time of this recording, 1934, commercials were permitted. So the commercials for Tasty Bread are in this. And of course, for this program, since they're sponsored by Tasty Bread, they're calling themselves the Tasty Bread Loafers. They had many names over the years. When they were sponsored by a sock company, stockings, they became the Interwoven Pair. When they were sponsored by Hellman's Mayonnaise, they became the Best Food Boys and whatnot. But tonight, the Happiness Boys are the Tasty Loafers. And their guest tonight, the guest singer is Shirley Howard. This is from 1934. It's one of only 22 audio recordings still in existence, for despite the fact that they were on the air for the better part of a decade. Virtually all the shows were live. They're not recorded, but 22 of them have survived. And this is one of them. And technical difficulties again.
Half a loaf is always better than none, they say.
There we go.
So
Finally.
who'd be content with half a loaf of tasty bread? Or even with a whole loaf of this milk-rich bread? Because once you enjoy tasty bread, you'll keep on using it day after day. It's wholesome, fragrant, delicious. It's bread you're proud to serve to your most critical guest as well as to an appreciative family. The Tasty Bread Winners, directed by Ben Selvin, Harry DeCosta at the piano, and here they are, Billy Jones and Ernie Hare, the Tasty Loafers. How do you do, everybody? How do you do? Going on the Jones and Hare to all of you. We're two loafers now it's men representing Tasty Bread. How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? I'm Billy Jones. I'm Ernie Hare, and we're a looking there. How do you do? Boy, are you all dressed up tonight. What's the big occasion?
Well, you know, I was to a wedding this afternoon, Ernie.
Oh, yeah? How'd the wedding come off?
Oh, fine, until the pastor asked the bride if she'd obey her husband. Ernie.
Well, what happened then, Bill?
Well, she said, do you think I'm crazy? And the groom, he was in the daze. He said, I do.
What kind of a feller is Jack, the groom?
Oh, he's one of those people who will pat you on the back before your face and hit you in the face behind your back.
That's so.
Yeah. The bride has been married before.
Yeah, yeah.
She deserted her first husband without any reason.
Well, a husband without any reason should be deserted, Bill.
Without a warning,
Before he knew it, she stole his heart away.
that very morning,
Though he may rue it,
he won't have to say, like taking candy from a baby. Baby,
you took my heart away.
you only commanded and I had to hand it to you. Like taking candy from a baby. Baby,
You made my heart obey.
it's bumping and jumping just like what you're making it do.
Oh, you went and took my kisses. That's when the trouble began.
If you really like my kisses, then don't keep calling me a nasty man. Like taking candy from a baby. Baby,
You took my heart away. So I let you take it. Be careful, don't break it in two.
like taking candy from a baby. Baby,
You took my liberty.
I'm not half a man, but what are you trying to do? Like taking candy from a baby. Baby,
You took me yesterday.
are you on the devil or is it the devil in you?
On the phone you called me silly. Jimmy and Johnny and Dan.
And when I told you this is Billy, again you told me I'm a nasty man.
Like a baby from a baby, baby, you took my heart away. And now I'm praying that you say I do. You know, I can't get over the way you got all dressed up for that wedding.
Well,
Bill.
yeah, I'm going to get me a nice wife, and then I'll have a cozy home with well-cooked meals always.
Yeah, with tasty bread, of course.
Oh, yeah. And my slippers will be all ready for me when I get home at night.
Hmm.
My pipe will be handy, and peace and contentment will reign for the rest of my days, Ernie.
Bill, you shouldn't get married.
Why not?
Well, when a man has a beautiful dream like that, he shouldn't take the risk of waking up.
Evidently, your relations are not pleasant at home, huh?
Oh, mine are, but my wife's relations are terrible, Bill. Far away from my homeland, but not too far from me. Was I grieving when I was leaving my homeland? I was happy as I could be. Cause the beds are in the kitchen and the bathtub's on the blink. That's a rough idea of my old Kentucky home. All the wood is in the parlor and the cows are in the sink. That's a rough idea of old Kentucky home. They're all singing rivers, they wave from my door. And while they're sleeping, Mississippi's peeping through the door. Oh, the moon is so disgusted, and the stars refuse to wink. I'll admit it's queer, but it's a rough idea of my old Kentucky home. Oh, the roof invites the rain in, and the chickens roost in bed. That's a rough idea of my old Kentucky home. Oh, the walls are nice and drafty, and the ceiling hits your head. That's a rough idea of my old Kentucky home. We don't need a window because there's no sun. The parlor, kitchen, bedroom, bath are all rolled into one. Once we had an old canary, but canaries must be fed. Though it tasted queer, it's a rough idea of my old Kentucky home. Yeah.
You know, this business of being dressed up got me in wrong.
Well, what do you mean, Bill?
Well, on the way to the studio tonight, a crook held me up for all I had, Ernie.
Boy, I don't know how those fellows make a living.
Believe me, I gave him a piece of my mind, all right.
I bet the silence was terrible.
You seem to be sitting all over me tonight. What's the idea?
Well, Bill, I want you to amount to something. You take a newborn chicken, for instance. They wouldn't amount to anything if they weren't sat on.
Say, wait, you two loafers. I'm going to sit on you both.
Yeah?
Because here's Shirley Howard for a guest appearance. Miss Howard stars the Mole program, sings Everything I Have Is Yours, as only Miss Howard can sing it.
Everything I have is yours. You're part of me. Everything I have is yours, my destiny. I would gladly give the sun to you if the sun were only mine. I would gladly give the earth to you and the stars that shine. Everything that I possess, I offer you. Let my dream of happiness come true. I'd be happy just to spend my life waiting at your beck and call. Everything I have is yours, my life, my own. The more I'm with you, the more I can see. My love is yours alone. You came and captured a heart that was free. Now I've nothing my dream of happiness come true. I'd be happy just to spend my life waiting at your beck and call. Everything I have is yours. My life, my all.
That symbol ushers in an event of no importance. The story of Robinson Crusoe. Bill and Ernie tell it with sound effects and detrimental music. But first, I have something of importance concerning Tasty Bread, the best loaf of bread in town. Tasty is delivered twice a day, direct to the dealer, right from the oven. It comes already sliced. Tasty bread stays fresh longer than any other bread. Now for the story. Ready, fellows?
No.
All right, go right ahead.
Robinson Crusoe had a sunken chest. Yeah, a jackass once kicked him above the belt, and they couldn't raise his chest.
He had a wife and daughter, but the wife ran away.
Uh-huh. That's the wife running away, seated on the same jackass that kicked the poor guy.
Thoughts of his runaway wife used to steam him up.
And that was the old boy being steamed up.
And so endeth the first part. This is Louis A. Whitten speaking.
We now find the daughter grown to womanhood.
Oh, and that was the grown daughter groaning. Proceed, Ernie.
One day between 12:30 o'clock, Robertson's offspring was waving her hair. A few waves, please.
Thank you. And due to his sunken chest, the poor old man was sinking, and he says,
Miss Child, if I don't get proper attention, I'll be sunk with my sunken chest. Advertise at once for a handyman who can take care of an invalid.
and the daughter replies,
Don't worry, Papa. I'll advertise tomorrow in the Cannibal Gazette.
This happened on Tuesday, and she advertised on Wednesday.
and on Thursday, in walked Friday.
And so ends part two of this masterpiece. This is Louis A. Whitten speaking.
Now, one Monday night, Friday was on the veranda with the daughter, and the old man heard her distinctly say,
Be good, Friday. Be good, Friday. Stop, or my papa will chastise thee.
Hopper Caruso rushes out, and the battle is on.
Hands off of my little girl, you ruffian. As sure as this is Monday, I will kill thee Friday.
And the old boy meant well, for his sunken chest bothered him so, he shouted to his daughter, whose name was Lou.
Waterloo! Waterloo!
Okay, Pop, I'll get the water bottle. I will.
But she brings the bottle, and in the midst of the battle, she sucks Friday on the cocoa with the bottle.
You just heard Friday falling.
And it was the first and last and only time Friday ever fell on Monday.
And so ends the story of Robinson Crusoe, my friends. This is
Louis A. Whitten speaking.
Oh, nerd.
You'll dream of a new karaoke. Is it grandma? You'll dream of a new karaoke. When you think your lights are gonna be saying goodbye.
You won't be surprised to learn that they wrote many of their own songs, including that old My Kentucky Home. Ernie Hare died in 1939. Wasn't that old, he was just shy of 60. And that pretty much ended the program. Billy Jones attempted to continue the program with Ernie Hare's daughter. The chemistry wasn't there. Their stuff was so outdated, didn't return to the air, and that was the end of the Happiness Boys. So now you know.
Thank you, Jack. That's wonderful. I am more educated now. We'll want to look up much more of that. Thank you.
Can
Um,
I ask a question?
Yes, let's have some questions.
Jack, where in the run did that show, what year? Do you have any idea? You're muted, Jack.
Mute, Jack.
It falls roughly in the middle, Frank. They started on network in 1926. This is from 1934, and their show ended in 1939.
Where did it originate before it went network?
WEAF in New York.
New York.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
they were on NBC Blue for the whole time they were on network.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I can't help feeling that someone might be muted who is having trouble getting unmuted. So now, Sally, I will pass the co-hosting baton to you as you get ready to quiz us closely. Frank has very kindly put together a quiz for us.
Oh, I was
And-
doing the quiz again this month?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
unless you want me to, but that could get really ugly.
I'm
So-
ready. I'm ready.
Oh, you were born ready. Okay, co-host. There you go.
Okay. Let's see if I can. Mm. I think I lost it. I had it, now I lost it.
The poll?
Now I don't even have the button.
Did you try moving your, sometimes if you move your mouse around? I can launch the poll for you probably from here. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Nah, it won't let me do it. You, sometimes that thread across the bottom disappears.
Oh, it's still
Hmm.
there. Can you try and just make sure I'm a co-host again?
It says you are.
There we go. Now it's come back.
Ah,
All right, perfect.
technology can't live with it, can't live without it.
Too
Once
much.
again, pass the baton to Sally.
Okay, all right. That was just extra bonus time, so no one should have any excuse to not have their pencils and papers out. It's Friday. I don't have patience for you not having your supplies ready. So everyone needs to get their papers and pencils. You may use a pen for this specific task. Children, remember, I teach 3rd grade. Therefore, I am prepared to deal with any excuses that you might come up with. I didn't say I would allow it, but I am prepared to deal with it. So I hope I have now given you sufficient enough time to get your pens, your pencils, your papers, your highlighters, your marking pens, your colored pencils, your crayons, whatever you feel like using. Excellent. Thank you. I saw Wendy was ready. Bert was ready. Excellent job. Frank has assured me that I do not need to worry about the dreaded BB in this quiz. However, Frank has also assured me that I should not feel comfortable in my role as quiz reader, which makes me nervous because I do this as a cold read, as you all know. I do not read this ahead of time. I read it with you because I want to take the quiz too. In fact, here's my pencil. I'm going to launch the poll. You may move faster through the poll than I will read. Now, these questions are a little bit shorter. So provided I don't have too many tongue twisters, Frank, I will read them for you as best I can, slowly and carefully, and potentially once or twice. So be listening up, and if you miss something, don't worry, we'll go over it again. And you can always access the recording later.
Is the
Number-
poll launched? Because I don't see it on my screen.
Not yet.
Ah, thank you, Teach.
Launching poll. Now. Number 1. Lou Costello's partner was Bud Abbott. What was Abbott's given name? A. Bert. B. Ernie. C. Oscar. D. William. Started off so smooth. Lou Costello's partner was Bud Abbott. What was Abbott's given name? Bert. Ernie. Oscar. William. Number 2. Fibber and Molly enjoyed eating at the Greek restaurant owned by which of the following characters? A. Socrates Mulligan. B. Ish Kabibble. C. Nick DePopulus. D. Takasharin Nick Harkiyarkus. Fibber and Molly enjoyed eating at the Greek restaurant owned by which of the following characters? Socrates Mulligan. Ish Kabibble. Nick DePopulus. Takasharin Nick Parkiyakarkus. Number 3. The Wonder Show brought together for the first time 2 performers who would be paired many times over the years. Who were they? A. Joseph Curtin and Alice Frost. B. Lucille Ball and Gail Gordon. C. Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard. D. Francis Langford and Don Amici. The Wonder Show brought together for the first time two performers who would be paired many times over the years. Who were they? Joseph Curtin and Alice Frost. Lucille Ball and Gail Gordon. Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard. Francis Langford and Don Amici. Number 4. Known as the Old Redhead, Arthur Godfrey went from an announcer on the Fred Allen Show to a powerhouse of 50s radio. It got ugly one morning, however, when while on the air, he fired his popular vocalist. Who was the vocalist? A. Enzio Pinza. B. Mario Lanza. C. Julius La Rosa. D. Harry Como. Known as the Old Redhead, Arthur Godfrey went from an announcer on the Fred Allen Show to a powerhouse of 50s radio. It got ugly one morning, however, when while on the air, he fired his popular vocalist. Who was the vocalist? Enzio Pinza. Mario Lanza. Julius La Rosa. Harry Como. Number 5. Basil Adlam wrote the theme music for The Six Shooter. The name of the theme fit the mood of the music. What was the name of the theme? A. Highland Lament. B. Vienna Woods. C. The Old Trail. D. Back in the Saddle. Basil Adlam wrote the theme music for The Six Shooter. The name of the theme fit the mood of the music. What was the name of the theme? Highland Lament. Vienna Woods. The Old Trail. Back in the Saddle. Number 6. Speaking of musicians, he wrote the theme music for Have Gun Will Travel. Who is he? A. Jerry Goldsmith. B. Alexander Courage. C. David Rose. D. Bernard Herrmann. Speaking of musicians, he wrote the theme music for Have Gun Will Travel. Who is he? Jerry Goldsmith. Alexander Courage. David Rose. Bernard Herrmann. Number 7. Dick Powell did an audition recording for this show, but turned down the offer for the series in order to take the lead in the show Richard Diamond, Private Detective. What show did he turn down? A. The Adventures of Sam Spade. B. The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. C. Pat Novak for Hire. D. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Dick Powell did an audition recording for this show, but turned down the offer for the series in order to take the lead in the show Richard Diamond, Private Detective. What show did he turn down? The Adventures of Sam Spade. The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Pat Novak for Hire. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Number 8. When Gildersleeve moved from Wistful Vista to Summerfield, what business did he leave behind? Gildersleeve. A. Gildersleeve girders. B. Gildersleeve girdles. C. Gildersleeve griddles. D. Gildersleeve gliders. Nothing sounds correct anymore. When Gildersleeve moved from Wistful Vista to Summerfield, what business did he leave behind? A. Gildersleeve girders. B. Gildersleeve girdles. C. Gildersleeve riddles. D. Gildersleeve gliders. Number 9. Mary Wesley was Boston Blackie's gal pal. When she wasn't hanging out with Blackie, what was her occupation? A. School librarian. B. Defense lawyer. C. Third grade teacher. D. Freelance nurse. Mary Wesley was Boston Blackie's gal pal. When she wasn't hanging out with Blackie, what was her occupation? School librarian. Defense lawyer. Third grade teacher. Freelance nurse. Number 10. Our guest tonight, Tommy Cook, had a recurring role on which of the following shows? A. The Adventures of Red Ryder. B. Blondie. C. The Life of Riley. D. All of the above. Our guest tonight, Tommy Cook, had a recurring role on which of the following shows? The Adventures of Red Ryder. Blondie. The Life of Riley. All of the above. All right. Good quiz, Frank. That concludes the quiz reading. I will leave the poll up should you wish to continue to answer on the poll throughout the rest of the evening. However, don't cheat. Use your brain.
Thank you, Sally. Excellently well
you at
done.
the end.
Thank you, Frank, for your wonderful possibilities of answers. And we will hear after our program what the answers, which were the correct answers to the quiz. So now Walden is with us, and I saw that Tommy Cook
Yep. You want
has
to go
joined
ahead.
us.
You want to go ahead and unmute Tommy or give him a little
Let's see if we can give him a little nudge here.
nudge there?
Let's see, where is he here? I'm asking him to unmute. Let's see if he can do that. I don't know if he's getting, it's, oh, let's see. He is on a device, so he
Yeah,
should be
he's on the
able.
computer.
Yep, but he's not responding to my request. Let me try on the other device. Oh, it says it doesn't look as if he's muted.
Tommy, you there?
Yes, I certainly am.
Yeah, there you go.
Yay!
Good job. All right.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Walden.
Oh.
One quick question before you get started. Would you be wanting to share any
Nope, nope,
screens?
I,
Okay,
nope,
so you
we're
don't need
good.
host.
Nope,
All right.
I don't need that because I can do it from here if we need to. But with Tommy's ability, definitely we want to take Q&A from everybody, so open to that. But for those of you who may or may not know, Tommy did over 3,000 radio shows. He's still working the business today, and he's a super guy. So Tommy, thank you for doing this for this group. Appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
You want to tell our audience, how did you get started?
I came out with my family from Minnesota. My father became ill with kidney disease. They tell me, as I don't have that memory back in Minnesota, that I used to get up at the Rotary Club and stand on the table and start dancing around and singing, and that I would entertain my grandmother who had Parkinson's disease. I'd wear funny outfits and try to entertain her. And when we came out here, my mother thought, well, maybe my son has a little talent. Let's see. So she first took me to the Ben Bard Playhouse, where I met my dear buddy and longtime friend, Darrell Hickman was there, and did a little play at the Ben Bard Playhouse. And then she took me down to the Pasadena Playhouse, one of the great, great American playhouses. And I auditioned for a show called Peter Goes to the Fair, directed by Betty White, and I got the role. And I stayed on and off at the Pasadena Playhouse, for a year or two, did some 7 plays, the main theater, the laboratory stage. I did one play that I co-starred in with George Reeves, who was Superman on television. And my mother would drive me. Of course, they didn't really have the freeways in those days, but she would drive me over the hills to the Pasadena Playhouse. And then she saw an article in a magazine about a free audition at NBC. May Reagan was the head of artist services at that time at NBC. So I went there and they taped my voice. A week or two later, I get a call to come and audition for the great Arch Obler. Of course, in those days, the 3 greatest writer, producer, directors, Orson Welles, Norman Corwin, and Arch Obler. So they called me back and they said, you got the role. And I figured to myself, I got it because I probably had the youngest sounding voice. They wanted a real young kid. And it was for his NBC show, Plays for America. No, Every Man's Theater, Every Man's Theater. Frank Martin and another actor were the announcers for the show, I think sponsored by Oxidol. And it was starring Alla Nazimova. So we do the show, and Arch comes out after the show, and he thanks everyone. Alla is there. And he says, I have to go to Chicago next week. I don't really want to go, but I guess so. I got to do this show with this young kid in Chicago, and he's pretty good. But and Alla whispers into Arch's ear, and she says, if you don't want to go to Chicago, take a chance on this little Tommy Cook. So what do you know? The next week, I star in Arch Obler's Every Man's Theater, Problem Papa, with Howard Duff and the great Mercedes McCambridge, who was Arch's famous or most favorite actress at the time, Gordon Jenkins doing the music. And from then on, I became part of Arch Obler's stock company, and I starred in several other of his award-winning Everyman's Theater shows, and then plays for Americans. And the stock company that Arch had, it was just remarkable. I mean, Elliot Lewis, Hans Conried, Mary Jane Croft, Lorene Tuttle, those kind of actors, Byron Kane. Some of the happiest moments in my life and some of the best work. Arch would never let me take a script home. He didn't want anybody fooling around with me. And I didn't see the show until the dress rehearsal. He wrote for me. He knew me. And so I got the script on just before a day or so before the show went on the air. And it wasn't reading a script. It was me living that character that Arch Obler could write. And so working with those radio actors, they were totally brilliant. And going to NBC at Sunset and Vine, sometimes I would leave school early, take a couple of buses. Later on, I would hitchhike there, go to CBS at Gower and Sunset across the street from Columbia Studios. It was just a joy, just a joy. I'll shut up now and let you come on.
How about Red Rider? How did you do the movie first before the radio show? Talk about Red Rider.
In 1940, I won the role of Little Beaver in the Republic 12-episode serial, The Adventures of Red Rider. Don Redberry played Red Rider. Herbert Yates was the president of Republic Studios at that time, and they had Don Barry under contract. He didn't seem like the right kind of casting for Red Rider, but he said, "We're paying him each week, put him to work." So Don Redberry played Red Rider, I played Little Beaver, and we shot most of the film in the valley. And when property there was like $10 an acre. And that was also a wonderful, wonderful experience. Bill Whitney was the co-director. I can't recall at the moment. John English, were the co-directors. I ended up doing another film for Jungle Girl for those two directors. And so that, and then in 1942, the old Blue Network, ABC Blue Network, came on, and Steve Schlesinger put the show together for Langendorf Bread, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and they brought me in to play Little Beaver. It so happens, they tell me, that Paul Franklin, who I said wrote, produced, and directed the episodes, ran into Arch Obler. And he was telling Arch that he was going to do this show. And evidently, they shot a pilot. They did a radio pilot. And Franklin decided that he wanted to have new characters. So they brought in Reed Hadley to play Red Rider. And Paul Franklin asked Arch Obler any suggestions. He said, "Are you kidding? Put in this little Tommy Cook, of course." So I think that's how I got the role of Little Beaver on the ABC Blue Network. Later on the Mutual Broadcasting Company, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the Lone Ranger went off the air there. They couldn't come to terms financially, and they brought my show in, the Red Rider show in. And so we were doing it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, The Adventures of Red Rider. But was so wonderful that every top personality in radio at one time or another had a role on the Red Rider show. The best, they all did. They all at one time performed on that show.
Can you tell the story that one time you were fooling around in the bathroom and you missed the beginning of the broadcast?
Oh, you'd have to have me tell that. All right, so I'm in trouble again. Well, you know, I was happy-go-lucky young kid. I was 8 or 9 years old, and so just before the show went on the air at 7:30, I decided to go to the restroom. And I went there and I was doing things in the restroom. I was doing on my hands, jumping around and everything. I forgot about the time. All of a sudden, oh my God, I run into Studio H at NBC, right next to Lum and Abner, Studio G. And the show was on the air, and Reed Hadley says, the announcer, Art Gilmore says, from out of the West comes America's famous fighting cowboy. And Reed Hadley, as Red Rider, says, come on, thunder. And Mercedes McCambridge says, this little beaver, get him up, Papoose. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. She saved my life. There was another instance a couple of years later. I Love a Mystery, Carlton Morris's fabulous show. They're now over at CBS. Mercedes and I are starring on the show. We're on the air. I turn the page. It's the wrong page. Mercedes sees that. Immediately, she moves around to my side, throws the script in front of me, and from then on, we finished the show together reading her script. So those were some of the incredible memories in radio.
How about Blondie?
Blondie was it was also fabulous. Arthur Lake and Penny Singleton. I was very close to Arthur Lake. He was incredible. He was Dagwood on and off the stage. And every Sunday when we do the show, 15 minutes before we would go on the air, Arthur Lake would run across the street to Columbia Studios. I would run right after him. He would go to have the guard there, allow him to go into his dressing room because that's where they did the Blondie films. And he would go into his dressing room and dress up as Dagwood. And one time he couldn't find the bow tie and he found some toilet paper and he wrapped it up and he somehow put it up there. And the toilet paper was his necktie. And we rushed back to CBS, to Studio C, just in time for Arthur to say, Blondie. And you know, we did that every week. Yes.
You did a lot of Lux Radio Theater.
I did about 23 Lux Radio Theaters. Wonderful 1-hour shows and great experiences there. I remember once there were 2 or 3 other children on the show. And during that show, we did it at the Vine Street Theater. And it was a theater with a mezzanine, etc., and this audience there. We didn't have an audience, but I mean they had all the seats as an audience for a regular theater. And when we did the show one week, there's you pause for commercials. And you're off the air for a couple of minutes, then you come on and you do the second and third act. And I noticed when we had one break during the show, one of the kids looked sick and went downstairs to the restroom and didn't come back. Now we're back on the air for the second and third act. And it's time for that kid to get on the mic. And not seeing him there, I got on the mic and played his role besides my own. But that's what you did in radio.
Talk about Al Jolson. Some of your Al Jolson.
Well, I idolized Al Jolson. He, to me and to most of the entertainment community, considered him the world's greatest artist. And I used to, when I was doing the Red Ryder radio show, Al Jolson came back to be a major star again. And for the Larry Parks played him in the Jolson Story. And he was the guest on practically every show, including the Bing Crosby show, Studio B at NBC. So I would sneak out of rehearsal from the Red Ryder show and go to see Al Jolson. And I would stand there right before going onto the stage. And I'm there one day, and Jolson is there, and he's complaining. He says, "I don't feel good. I got a fever. I don't know. I don't know whether I can go on. It's your time, Mr. Jolson, please. They need you on the stage." He goes right on. They do the show, and Al Jolson stays there for another hour entertaining the audience. That was Al Jolson. Now, speaking of Jolson, they did the Jolson Story on Lux Radio Theater. With the film, my dear, dear friend, Scotty Beckett played Jolson as a kid in the film. But on Lux Radio Theater, I played Jolson as a kid. And we got along great. And he was Al Jolson. And after the show, he came to me. He said, hey, kid, I like you. I want to do something for you someday. You wait and see. A couple of months later, he died. You know, he had gone to entertain the troops overseas, and I guess that took a toll on him. But being able to work with Al Jolson was a treasure. As I said before, he was the best entertainer.
Talk about Orson Welles.
I did a couple of Orson Welles shows, but what was more interesting, I get a call one day from an advertising agency in New York. Somebody told them to call me, Mr. Cook, we're such and such from the advertising agency, and we were told to call you that you had worked with Mr. Welles. We're trying to reach him because we have a commercial that we want him to do for the Nikka Whiskey Company. It will only be shown in Japan, in Asia, won't be shown in America. And we want to get a hold of him and try to contract him. I said, I think I can get a hold of Mr. Welles. I'll call you back, give me your number, blah, blah, blah. So Orson Welles is staying with the director, Peter Bogdanovich, and they were good friends. I was able to contact Orson there and told him about the request from this advertising agency. They wanted him to do a commercial. So to cut to the chase, they set up the commercial time here in Los Angeles with Orson's own photographer, with his own director, all set. It's all set up. I'm there on the set. Orson Welles says, "You know something? I think it would be better if we shot this in Paris. What? Yes, yes. Let's cancel the shoot right now and let's do it in Paris. What could they do? They went to Paris and shot the commercial with Orson Welles there. That was Orson.
Tell our listening audience here about your background in putting together charity events and tennis matches and the whole thing that you carved out for yourself. I think that's very interesting.
Well, I lived next door to Dr. Esther Bartosh when I lived with my parents, 6517 Olympic Place. And right across from Olympic Boulevard by La Cienega, just almost into Beverly Hills. And Dr. Bartosh was a member of the LA Tennis Club. She played a lot of tennis. And she saw me hitting tennis balls against the backboards of the garage, of my garage. And so she said, "Hey, Tommy, why don't you really get interested in some tennis?" So I started riding my bike to La Cienega. They had some 15 or 16 public tennis courts there, and a great group of people that would play there every day, every week, including some top celebrities. So I would take my bike over there after school and stuff and play. And I started to enter a couple of 15 and under and junior tennis tournaments. And so Dr. Bartosh followed me, and I lost my train of thought again. Give me, what was the...
I wanted you to sort of trace your history of tennis up to when you started putting together all the charity
Oh,
events.
right. So with Dr. Esther Bartosh, now I know where I am. Okay. Esther Bartosh also helped the great Bobby Riggs, former world's great tennis player and a real character. And he was small and didn't have the great power like a Jack Kramer or Don Budge, the great players in those days. And so I patterned my game after Bobby Riggs. So Esther Bartosh took me under her wings and took me over to the LA Tennis Club. And as I say, I started playing these tournaments and I started winning. And I was seeded number one for the Junior Public Parks National Tennis Championships to play out near Griffith Park. And for the first time, my dad came to watch me. I'm in the finals. And guess what? The kid that I had beat in former tournaments, Oscar Johnson, a black young junior tennis player, beats me in 3 sets. I come home. I don't come out of my room for about 2 days. And but then it's now in school. I go to LA High School, and I end up being the interscholastic, the Southern California Junior Interscholastic Champion, and traveling all around. One year I took the train and went to Kalamazoo, Michigan, to play in the National Junior Tennis Championships. I got to the quarterfinals. I beat Thomas Boyes, who was the junior champion of New York. But tennis was now a major part of my life. I loved it. And anyway, we'll go on to, I go into the Marine Corps in about 1953 or 54. I go through boot camp down at San Diego Marine Recruit Depot. And then I'm brought up to Camp Pendleton in Oceanside. And in training to go overseas with my M1 rifle. But I entered in and I become Camp Pendleton tennis champion. And it turns out that either the president or the vice president of NBC sends a letter to the commanding general at Camp Pendleton saying, don't mean to interfere, but we understand that Tommy Cook is in the infantry ready to go to Korea to fight. May we suggest that you can find an area that Mr. Cook can be more useful. And so the commanding general pulls me off going to Korea, and puts me in PIO, Public Information Office. And ABC had a radio show called Marines in Review. They would come down and shoot it in the Post Theater there. And now I'm in PIO and I end up playing the lead, the Marine Corps heroes in the various Marines in Review shows. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I started teaching tennis at Dean Martin's house. I taught little Dino Martin and the kids and Jeannie Martin, and would work out with Dean and the family on weekends. He had a lovely home and obviously a tennis court right in Beverly Hills, right off Sunset Boulevard. And so I somehow get into teaching, and I start teaching my celebrity friends tennis. And from there, I go down to the tennis. I'm trying to think of on the way to San Diego. What's that city in San Diego? Just outside of San Diego.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean, Tommy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mind is eluding me at the moment.
La Jolla.
Pardon
La
me?
Jolla?
La Jolla.
La Jolla?
La Jolla.
No, not La Jolla. I played in junior tournaments there, but this is right down.
La Costa.
La Costa. Thank
La
you.
Costa,
Thank you.
Okay.
I go to La Costa and I put on a tournament, the first major celebrity tournament. I mean, I had Clint Eastwood, I had Farrah Fawcett, I had Charlton Heston, I had John Forsythe, you know, those kind of people who loved tennis at the time. And they came down and played in it, and little Dino Martin, he played in it. And the Dick Van Patten family, Dick and his three sons, Vincent Van Patten, who was he was the best celebrity tennis player, and Nels Van Patten, who taught tennis, and Jimmy. So for the next couple of years, we produced the celebrity charity tennis tournament at La Costa. So that gives you an idea of my tennis career.
Let's go ahead and open up to the audience. If you got some questions for Tommy Cook, that's a good opportunity to ask questions. So, so I don't know if you want to do it in chat or Wendy, how you want to do it, but we can go ahead and see people want to ask some questions at the moment.
I think, well, I mean, we can do it in chat, but we can also just like John Abbott is raising his hand
Absolutely.
and Frank is. So
okay, let's do that.
dial in, guys.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I read once that as Little Beaver, you were taken in by an Indian tribe, kind of, you know, adopted by them or made a blood brother of some sort. Is that correct?
Well, that may be. ABC did a lot of publicity on the show, and my recollection is not that great on that particular question of yours, but I have some kind of feeling that what you're saying is true. I think that there was an Indian tribe that sort of took me in.
If I can find the article that I read, I'll send it along.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to.
Okay. Then another question I had.
Sure.
You know, we take photographs and that's how we have our memories. Do you ever sit down and listen to the programs that you performed in as a form of, you know, thinking about the past?
Well, going way, way back, you know, I'm 91 years old now. And in the great old days of radio, one of my dearest friends is the late Frank Brzee. And Frank had a home in the Hancock Park area. And he collected shows and a great historian of radio, besides being a radio actor. And as I say, we were extremely close. And I used to spend a lot of time at his house. And upstairs, we would do interviews and stuff together, and go through the memorabilia and going through all his pictures and articles that he had collected during the years of radio.
Well, thank you. And thank you very much for being here with us tonight. It was wonderful.
Nice being with you.
Tommy,
I
this
think-
is John Abbott here in South Carolina, or North Carolina, rather.
Ah,
You did a single episode of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, in April of 1956.
Bob Bailey.
What do you remember about that particular program?
That was Bob Bailey, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. He was, I did several shows with Bob Bailey, other than Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. And he was a fine radio actor. I can't really tell you or recall any particular incidents that might be interesting to you from that show. I did the show, but I can't recall anything unusual about appearing in it.
Well, after 3,000 programs, it's hard to pull one out of the air.
Yeah.
But good, I do appreciate your being with the club tonight, and I'm going to go back and listen to some of your programs this week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Edgar has his hand up.
Yes, Mr. Cook, first,
Yeah.
I wanted to wish you a belated Happy Veterans Day and thank you for your service in the Marine Corps. I'm a veteran also, and I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite project or performance that you're most proud of? And do you have a dream project that you have not yet done that you want to do?
All right. Okay. My days with Arch Obler are truly memorable, working with the greats of radio. And Arch, my parents were very close to Arch. And the way he could write, this young kid, and you know, just getting on that mic, you know, you forget about being an actor, you forget about your reading lines. It's just, you just believe, you believe in this show, you believe in the character, and nobody could do that better than Arch Obler. So those were great memories. And I just enjoyed, you know, I did a Tarzan film right when the Second World War came to an end. And that was very enjoyable, working with Johnny Weissmuller and Brenda Joyce and Johnny Sheffield, who played Boy. And but when I got out of the Marine Corps, I realized radio was no longer the king of entertainment. Remember, in those days, there was no television, and they didn't have all those multiple theaters across the country. Radio was king. And now radio is no longer king. And so I decided I want to stay in this industry. What can I do to keep myself going? And so I decided to get on the other side of the camera and maybe create a project for myself. And I created a television show, and I was doing it. I got a role on a television series, and I discussed the show with the director. He says, I like it. I can sell it. We sold the show to NBC, and a writer's strike came on. And after 10 weeks, the syndication division of NBC went out of business. And so there went my show.
Mm.
And then I wrote a treatment, a 40-page treatment for a film. And I brought in a writer that I had known from television and stuff. And we completed the screenplay, and I personally sold it to Jennings Lang, a producer at Universal. It was called Roller Coaster.
Wow.
And it was a mild box office success. More importantly, it brought in roller coaster theme parks being produced and around the world. And then I did another film, Robert Evans, who I knew quite well and loved tennis. I used to play at his house, and I even had him in a couple of my tournaments. And he's now president of Paramount Studios. And I sent him a script for a tennis film called, original title, Balls. So he reads it and calls me into his office at Paramount. He says, you must be kidding with this title, Balls. And he said, I'm going to bring in another writer. And so he brought in another writer. The title was became Players, and we shot the film. I was associate producer, and I choreographed the tennis sequences. We were the first company that ever played at Wimbledon. We were first company ever able to shoot a film. And I worked out with the great Pancho Gonzalez on the center court at Wimbledon. I'm the only civilian that ever played on that center court. Can you imagine how
Wonderful.
magnificent that was? And I wrote that screenplay for Farrah Fawcett and Vincent Van Patten. And it turned out Dean Paul Martin, Dean's son, got the role with Ali McGraw. And the German artist, can't think of his name at the moment, wonderful German actor, Academy Award actor, was in the film. So I still occasionally do a television show, but I've been working for the last 4 or 5 years on what we call the sequel, the prequel, not the sequel, a follow-up to Roller Coaster. It's called White Knuckles, and it is the perfect movie-going experience for the young demographics that dominates the international box office. And I know that with the ending of the pandemic and people going back to theaters again, I'm going to find a way to get this film made, because the story is great. And I brought in a radio director, writer of mine, Michael James Casey, to work with me on the screenplay. And recently I've brought in a woman screenwriter with credits, good credits, to do a sort of restructuring on the screenplay. But I'm here to tell you, William Morris Endeavor is waiting to see the script. White knuckles, you wait for it. I'm going to make it.
Well, break
Thank
a
you.
leg on your project, and thank you for your appearances and performances at the Friends of Old Time Radio. I enjoyed you there as well. So, but break a leg on this new project.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed being with you all.
And well, I think Jack French has been very patiently holding his hand up.
Yeah,
Jack?
yeah, Mr. Cook.
Yes.
David Siegel and I wrote the book Radio Rides the Range, and we turned to Will Hutchins, who is the star of Sugarfoot on ABC TV, to write the foreword to it. And he told us that one of his fondest memories of childhood was playing tennis with you.
Yes, he was. I don't have much relationship with him in these years now, but he was a good friend, a lovely guy, and I really enjoyed his camaraderie in the good old days.
And Melanie Altman also had her hand up. Melanie, are you still here?
Where are you, Melanie?
Melanie, come out wherever you are. Let me ask her to unmute. Sometimes her equipment is temperamental when it comes to unmuting. Melanie, are you there?
Melanie, can you send me an email? This is Edgar, and I can read it or send it to Wendy.
Let's see. I'm asking her to unmute. *6, Melanie. No, she's on the telephone, so she can't. Here
Okay,
we go.
now am I unmuted now?
You are live, and we can hear you clearly.
Oh, great. Well, Tommy Cook, I just think you are so fantastically wonderful. And I thank you for all the wonderful shows that you did. And I loved your Junior Riley in the life of Riley. And what was it like working with that cast?
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. William Bendix was couldn't be any nicer. Paula Winslow played his wife, Barbara Eiler, and Sharon Douglas played my sister, both of them at one time or another. And that was very enjoyable, a wonderful cast. Let's see, I'm trying to think who created the show. Somebody help me. Can't think of his name.
Irving
Brecker.
Yeah.
Irving Brecker. Yeah. He was a screenwriter at MGM, and I think he was nominated for Academy Award. But anyway, that was, of course, at NBC. Blondie's CBS, Adventures of Red Ryder, the old Blue Network. At ABC. Of course, ABC did not have a studio. They had offices near NBC. So we did all the ABC shows at NBC. But there was one other show that I just quickly would like to mention to you that was rather historic and one of my all-time favorites. And again, it came from Arch Obler. He wrote, produced, and directed a special for Franklin Roosevelt on his 60th birthday. And Arch brought me in to MC. And I introduced 16 of the biggest artists in the business from radio and films. And I talked to President Roosevelt and wished him happy birthday. But can you imagine, I'm 9 or 10 years old and I'm on that stage with these fabulous actors, you know. And that was Myron Dutton was the he represented NBC with Arch Obler, but Arch wrote and produced and he directed the show. But that was a great time in my life.
Tommy, talk about the day. What day you do the most radio shows in one day? Remember that particular day? Was it 7 shows?
I'm trying to think. There were times when I would go from Red Ryder and dash over to CBS and do a show and come back. Of course, you remember in those days you did 2 shows.
Yeah.
You did a show for the West Coast. You do a show for the East Coast, and so anyway. What was the question again? My mind.
I was trying to think the most busiest day that you ever had. Didn't you do like 6 or 7 shows in one day?
I know in 1 week I did around over 20 shows in 1 week. You know, Marvin Miller was a great radio actor and a hell of a character guy. And we're doing a show one day and we're sitting around in between rehearsal. And Marvin Miller is complaining. And somebody says, well, what's the problem? What's wrong, Marvin? He says, you know, I just don't understand what's happening these days. I was always doing about 30 shows every couple of weeks, and now I'm down to 23 shows. I just don't know what's happening. And we looked at him, you know. Oh, God, Marvin was so funny.
Oh, Joanna, you have your hand up.
Congratulations and thank you so much. This is so nice because not only we got to know you, but also see the background of what was, you know, old Hollywood, old California, you know, the sun, the beauty, the relaxation, all those, the real, you know, the real all-time celebrity, you know, and the uniqueness of that time. I'm curious, can you somehow resurrect that scenario that you sold to NBC, and because of the writers' strike, they ended up not producing it? Can you go back to them and remind them that it's somewhere in their drawers and in somewhere in some boxes there, and, you know, see if it can be produced now?
I'm having a little bit of trouble of completely understanding your question. Please forgive me. Please.
No, it's my accent too.
Help me on the question.
She's talking about the series that you sold, the man behind the badge, the series, and when NBC stopped producing it, your show got canceled. She was wondering, did you ever consider about reviving it? Did you get?
Oh yes, what was the name of the show? The
Man Behind the Badge.
The man with yeah. I'll tell you, there was a little situation with that show. There was police work in Man with the Badge. It was about a young police officer who looks like he's so young. He still looks like a teenager. And so being a member of the police, he can get into the trouble areas where the usual officers cannot gain entrance. So not knowing police work to any extent, I contacted a friend of mine socially who was a detective in the Hollywood area. And I gave him my script and I asked for suggestions. And so he gave me a couple of suggestions and I said, thank you. And lo and behold, this person, detective, took my show, got a meeting with Aaron Spelling, who at the time was the king television producers, gave them my script, and that became the Mod Squad.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. My lawyer went berserk. My friend said, my God, sue this guy. But I said to myself, I'm going to sue Aaron Spelling. I mean, I knew Aaron. We used to play softball at a park in West Hollywood. I mean, little Tommy Cook, I'm going to go after Aaron Spelling. So I decided not to sue. But the absolute truth is that he stole my show, and he met with Aaron Spelling, and he took that show and he turned it into the Mod Squad, which became, terribly popular.
Tell the story how you put together the Billie Jean King Bobby Riggs tennis match.
Right. Okay. I'm spending a lot of time now at the LA Tennis Club. In those days, the LA Tennis Club was on Clinton Avenue, just approaching West Hollywood, okay? And that's where all the major tennis tournaments took place before they went to UCLA and then that huge stadium down in Palm Desert, etc. But I lost my train of thought. Give me the question again.
The Billie Jean King Bobby
Oh,
Riggs.
yes. Okay. All right. Now, in those days, Jack Kramer, Ted Schroeder, Don Budge, they're the giants in the tennis business, and Bobby Riggs. And so I, at a tournament, now I got it. Here we go. There's the Pacific Southwest Tennis Championships. That's what it was called, at the LA Tennis Club. They would bring in another section to the grandstands just for that tournament, and they remove the section after the tournament. But here they are. I would say, there's about 3,000 people there, okay? And I'm watching the tournament, and Jack Kramer is now retired, but he's the head of the tournament. He's become the tournament. He's replaced can't think of his name. But anyway, it's not important. And Billie Jean King is there. She's the top gal. And I happen to go in and I overhear Jack Kramer and Billie Jean King. And she's complaining to Jack. And she says, it's not right, Jack. It's not right. All the money going to the men. And we're getting very, very little money. Not right. And Jack says, well, first of all, Billie, the men from the quarterfinals on, they play 3 out of 5 sets. And I hate to tell you this, Billie, but the people really come to see the men play. Now it's the tournament, it's the finals. Billie Jean King is in the finals. And they're playing the match. A point is over, and the linesman doesn't call it. He's fallen asleep.
Oh.
And Billie Jean says, what is happening? What is happening? The umpire doesn't know what to do. He calls in Jack Kramer. who heads up the event. Jack comes out. Now the linesman wakes up and he's sitting in his chair very erect. And Jack looks at him and he listens to Billy and he says, I'm not going to replace him. Continue playing. She says, I'm not going to finish the tournament. I think she was playing against Rosie Casals. And Jack says to her, if you don't finish, then you're going to be defaulted. And I can't remember whether she finished the match or she defaulted. But then she went, and that's what started women's tennis. And when she went in, and that's when the women started with their own group, rather than just being a part of the men's tennis events. And when I saw that furor between Jack Kramer and Billie Jean King, I started thinking, maybe I can put something together that would be interesting film-wise. And so I developed that's when I developed my the first tennis film. And but that was the occasion that got me into the Billie Jean King. That's about it.
Yeah, and then you went ahead and picked the idea for the TV, the tennis match that you got the contracts with Billie Jean and Bobby Riggs.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's not the end of it.
Yeah.
What's the matter with me? Thank you, Walden. What's the interesting part is, now when I realize that maybe there's something there, I go to Billie Jean King, and at that time she's married to Larry King, not the great commentator who just passed away, but he was a lawyer, but that was his name. And I took them to the Tail of the Cock restaurant, and I proposed that I would like to set up a contract for me to put on Billie Jean King against Bobby Riggs, because Bobby had all the personality. Even though he was retired, he was still Bobby Riggs. And also I thought, well, maybe also Jack Kramer. So I entered into a 90-day agreement with Billie Jean King to stage the match, the Battle of the Sexes. Little beknownst to Bobby, I also signed Jack Kramer to play Billie Jean King, who would have beat the heck out of her. Anyway, my contract ran out after 90 days, and Bobby Riggs does the smart thing. He goes to the press and he says to Billie Jean King, come on and play me. I'll set it up. I challenge you, Billie Jean King. And so the two of them played at a small venue in San Diego. I drove down there, was with Bobby. Nobody thought that Bobby had a chance. And it was on Mother's Day. And there, just before the match starts, Bobby comes over to Billie Jean and he says to her, oh no, don't hurt me. Don't make a fool out of me. I'm an old man. I'm in my 50s. Please give me a chance. Make it look good on court, will you? So they go and they play the match, and Bobby blew her mind. and excuse me, I'm so sorry. It was with Margaret Court. The match was with Margaret Court, who was the #1 player in the world out of Australia. Please. And Bobby Riggs he did that bit that I just told you about to Margaret Court, and it blew her mind. And Bobby wins in straight sets. So now Bobby's king of the world in tennis. And it was from there, Jerry Perenchio, the great entrepreneur, started out in the mailroom at William Morris Agency and became such a dear friend. He came to me and to find out how we could get a hold of Bobby Riggs and this and that. And Jerry Perenchio then put together the match with Billie Jean King against Bobby Riggs. And it was at the Houston Astrodome before the largest crowd in tennis history, live crowd. And ABC was there televising it. I brought a group of stars. I remember I had Glenn Campbell, you thought was a golfer, but I taught his wife tennis. And so he was there, and several other top stars from television and films were there. And that's when they had the battle of the sexes between Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King. Jerry Perenchio came over later and sent me a letter, and he says, one of the grandest times of my life, and thanking me for being instrumental in putting it all together.
That is just a wonderful story. I do remember that event, watching it on television. We were living in San Antonio at the time, and it was a big, exciting, and we didn't have a television, so we had to go to a friend's house to watch it. And there was a big party. It was a tremendous buzz. It was a great, great event.
Go ahead.
No, please.
After that event, I decided that I wanted to do it again, but with other people. And I flew to Florida to see Chris Everett's father and proposed to him a deal where I wanted to sign Chris Everett to play Francisco Pancho Segura. And they both had two hands, you know, the two-handed match of the ages, I called it. And Chris's father said that I don't really represent her anymore like I did when she was very young. You'll have to go to IMG or what, or she's playing in a tournament at La Jolla. Go on back to LA and go see her playing in this tournament. So I flew right back. I go down to La Jolla, and she's playing an exhibition against Martina Navratilova. So after the match, I get a hold of Chris and I propose it to her. And she looks at me and she says, Tommy, I have absolutely no chance against Segura. He'd kill me. There's no chance I'll play this match. It'll take everything away from what Billie Jean King did to Bobby Riggs. So I'm sorry. So I had Pancho Segura. I had a personal contract with him. He was ready to go. And I went to Vegas and I had it all set up there. And they were going to have a parade, the men on one side of Las Vegas Boulevard and on the other side. And I had one of the biggest hotels. I can't remember which hotel. And they had the space for to play the match, you know, it was all set up. But Chris would not play it. The two-handed battle of the ages, I called it. But those were fun days.
Talk about talk about one quick story before we wrap it. Your days at Monaco, working with the whole royal family.
Right. I through my late friend and great buddy over the years. I remember Ken Niles, the announcer, his son, Wendell Niles Jr. We were about the same age, and we were great buddies. And I brought him in to play in a couple of my celebrity charity tennis events. And then he had gone over with James Franciscus. Remember that actor?
Mhm.
They went to school together. They're great buddies. And I had Jimmy playing in my tournaments. They went over to Monaco and met with Prince Rainier and Prince Albert and Princess Grace. And they set up a deal to come and put on a celebrity charity tennis event there in Monte Carlo. Well, Wendell then came right to me and he says, Tommy, I need you. I've got you. You know, I want you to put on this event. I've sort of set up the paperwork. And so the two of us flew over, and it was right during the Wimbledon championships. And what I did is I took the players from Wimbledon that were defeated in the early rounds, and we brought them over to Monte Carlo, and they would play with my celebrities, again, the Charlton Hestons and the John Forsythe and the Clint Eastwoods and that group. And we would put on a tournament on the courts at Monte Carlo, and then, of course, the fabulous party. And Princess Grace played in it, Rainier and Albert. And I remember dancing with Princess Grace. And oh, gosh. And we did that for several years. Can you imagine? That was fun. Gosh.
This is just an extraordinary evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Cook. I really, your career has spanned such an incredible amount of time, and you've known everybody. I want to read your biography. You need to write an autobiography if you haven't already done so, because it's just extraordinary. And
maybe someday. I've been asked over the years why I haven't written a book, but maybe someday while I'm still around. But I've had, I'm very proud to be a part of the entertainment business. The most brilliant, the most creative, the most loving people in the world make up the entertainment community. And for me to have the chance and the experience to work with these great people in all aspects, I'm grateful. I'm grateful, and I'm going to keep going. And you better see white knuckles.
No, absolutely. And it brings to mind the song, "There are no people like show people."
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Absolutely.
I want to thank Walden Hughes. Walden Hughes, my dear buddy for so many years. Boy, we've been pals.
Yeah.
Oh, we go way back to the old days, and we're still doing it with Spurtvac and with reps in Seattle. Hope that'll all come back next year. We'll be doing the shows. Yep. So Walden's my pal, and to be with him again is such a pleasure.
I love you, Tommy.
Well, and a tremendous pleasure for the Metropolitan Washington Old Time Radio Club to have both Walden and Tommy Cook. It's a great honor, and it has been a simply delightful evening. Thank you both so very, very much, and for sharing your memories.
I wish all of you the best. It's been a wonderful experience.
And this is recorded. This is being recorded, so we will be posting it to our YouTube channel.
Terrific.
Thank you for bringing some glamour in our life.
Absolutely.
Nice seeing you on the screen. Nice talking to you. And let's do it again sometime.
Rock on. I'm up for it. When are you free?
You'll have to go through my agent, Walden Hughes.
Oh, dear. We'll just talk to our buddy Walden.
Yeah. All right, Tommy.
So much, Mr.
All right.
Cook.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. So now, the next up on our schedule is for Sally to read the answers to Frank Morgan's quiz with all the wonderful choices he gave you for answers. It was terrific stuff.
Oh. At least there's no BB.
Well, there were some pretty good
There's
tongue
some pretty
twisters.
rough ones. All
Yeah.
right, so get your answer sheets out, everyone. It's time to go over our quiz. And the poll has been running. So I
Can you
don't think
pull up
anyone
the
else.
results?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give it maybe like 5 more seconds in case somebody's like, oh, I was trying to finish.
Is the poll still up? Because I wasn't able to submit. It went away.
No, it's still
how,
there.
How can I bring it up?
Can you relaunch it? Because it's not on the screen right now, Sally. I mean, not launch it, but I think there's a way you have a control to sort of make it display again. Let me see, polls.
Well, then if it relaunches, it will clear everything.
Right. No, I've got the poll results up. Edgar, on your phone, do you have, what kind of controls do you have? Because I was able to get it. The poll is considered ended.
No, don't worry about it. No, I don't have a button that says poll. I have share content. I have chat.
You have
original
3
sound,
dots.
meeting settings.
So the poll might have ended on its own.
Right.
So.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I know what I answered.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right,
I write mine down because I can't.
Good.
I can't put the answer.
Well, you may now get your red pens out. You have your red pens out. There's no erasing and changing our answers on our quiz now, class. Please get your thank you very much. All right, well, I'm going to share the results of the poll, but remember, not everyone has answered on the poll and the majority doesn't always win. So let's see how our results are. Thumbs up that you can see the answers. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. All right. And let's see what we've got. So number 1, Lou Costello's partner was Bud Abbott. What was Abbott's given name? It started off pretty common. Was it Bert? But then we have Ernie or Oscar. And suddenly I felt like I was being taken in. Or was it William? I don't know. I think you're trying to throw us off, Frank. Let's see. It looks like the majority on the poll went with William. I don't know. Was it a red herring? Sesame Street was a red herring, everyone. Don't fall for it. The answer is D. William. William was Bud Abbott's given name. All right, number 2. Fibber and Molly enjoyed eating at the Greek restaurant, which was owned by which intensely named character? Could it be Socrates, Ish, Nick, or Tekasharin Nick? Oh man, that was almost worse than B. Almost worse. We were kind of spread all over the place on the poll here. A few went all over the place. The majority, not a big majority, but a majority went for C, Nick DePopulus. Are they right? They are right. The correct answer is C, Nick DePopulus. Number 3, The Wonder Show, brought together for the first time 2 performers who would then be paired together many times over the years. Ooh, again, kind of spread all over the place. With this one, kind of tricky here, Frank. So could it have been Joseph Curtin and Alice Frost, Lucille Ball and Gail Gordon, Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard, or Frances Langford and Don Amici? All over the place. And the correct answer is, oh, this was tricky. B, Lucille Ball and Gail Gordon. Good job to the 2 of you who got it right on the poll. and however many others of you who got that one right. Nice job, Lucille Ball and Gail Gordon. All right. Number 4. Oops. Arthur Godfrey was an announcer on the Fred Allen Show and became a powerhouse of 50s radio, but one ugly morning, he fired his vocalist on the air. I really want to hear that episode, and I hope that it's been recorded, because that's just wild to me, and I want to hear the drama. Who was the vocalist? Enzio, Mario, Julius, or Perry? I love Perry Como, but I don't think it's Perry myself. It looks like nobody else went for that one either. I think Frank was trying to trick us again. So who was our vocalist? Looks like the overwhelming majority on the poll went for C, Julius LaRosa. Let's see if they are correct, including myself. And we are. Good job, C. Julius LaRosa is the correct answer. And I really want to hear that drama. What made Arthur Godfrey fire Julius on the air? And how did it stick? I think that's pretty incredible. Number 5. I want to say Basil, but I'm sure it's Basil. Considering it's a name, though, just to be silly. Herb Adlam, just kidding. Basil Adlam wrote the theme for this 6-shooter. Now, the name of that theme fit the mood. What was the name of the theme? We were split here, either Highland Lament or The Old Trail. What was the name of the theme? Nice work. 2 of you that got the correct answer. A, Highland Lament. Now, Vienna Woods, Frank tells us, was from the American Radio Warblers. The Old Trail was from Gunsmoke. And Back in the Saddle was for Gene Autry. There you go.
Sally?
Yes.
This is
Ooh.
Edgar.
A
May
voice
I
for-
add a note to that question? Although Basil Adlam is given credit for the music of the 6-shooter, he did not write the theme. It was written by Charles Williams, a composer in England, and recorded by the Queen's Hall Light Orchestra in 1945. So someday I hope to do a 15-minute presentation on that song, because I have the original recording without any of the words, which no one could ever get because
Excellent.
it was under license. So
Well,
I'll just throw that in.
You
Edgar,
may
I
have
thank you.
bonus points on your quiz, Edgar, and you'll get double bonus points if you provide me with an essay on that subject matter by next club meeting. So
Okay,
good work.
I will.
You'll get bonus points.
I will.
Very good. All right. Number 6. Speaking of musicians, he wrote the theme for Have Gun Will Travel. Who is he? Could it be A, Jerry Goldsmith, who some of you may know from? No? Star Trek. Okay. B, Alexander Courage, who also some of you may know from?
Star Trek.
Thank you. Bonus points. Edgar, you're racking in those bonus points.
I can use them.
Could it be C, David Rose, who you might know from?
Bonanza.
Ah, very good. Or could it be D, Bernard Herrmann, who now I'm out. I don't know what else he did. So, but he has the 2 N's. So could he, I don't know, and that, of course, D, you tricked me, Frank. The correct answer is D, Bernard Herrmann. He wrote the theme for Have Gun Will Travel. Good job to the 3 of you who selected that in the poll. It's not who I picked. I'm not changing my answer. Got it wrong. I have to brush up on my theme music now. I'm feeling a little. I own all of those CDs. Side note, on all of those television theme CDs. Do you remember when those all came out? I have all of them. I used to listen to them all the time. I was a strange child, so I know all the TV ones, but you know, only if it like translated into from radio to TV. If they stayed the same, would I be able to recognize it? I don't know. Maybe I just missed that one.
Bernard Herrmann did not write the television theme of
See?
Have Gun.
It's not my fault then.
No.
Thank you. Oh, Edgar, you're gonna pass the class. You are
I
gonna
hope
pass
so.
the class. Number 7. Dick Powell, another personal favorite of mine, Frank. You're also racking up the points here. Did an audition recording for this show, but turned it down to take the lead in possibly one of the best detective series ever, Richard Diamond, Private Detective. That was true. That was written. I didn't just say that. What show did he turn down? Was it A, Adventures of Sam Spade, B, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, C, Pat Novak for Hire, or D, yours truly, Johnny Dollar? We were spread all over the place in the poll. People kind of selected a little bit, but there was a majority for Johnny Dollar. The correct answer is D, yours truly, Johnny Dollar. There you go. He could have been, but instead we got to have him as Richard Diamond, Private Detective. A wonderful series. Number 8. Frank. When Gildersleeve moved from Wistful Vista, which is hard enough to say anyway, without tripping over yourself, to Summerfield, what business did he leave behind? I think Gildersleeve had no business being in business with this many sounds. The Gildersleeve girders, the Gildersleeve girdles, the Gildersleeve griddles, or the Gildersleeve gliders. Which one was it? The majority says the Gildersleeve girdles. Let's see if they are correct. And they are. The correct answer is B, the Gildersleeve girdles. I hope he went out of business quickly. First of all, it's too much going on there. Number 9. Mary Wesley was Boston Blackie's gal pal. When she wasn't hanging out with Blackie, what was her occupation? I'm disappointed to see that none of you selected C. Trying not to take that personally. Just noting it for future grade time. Was she A, a school librarian, B, a defense lawyer, C, a 3rd grade teacher, or D, a freelance nurse? We were split with a majority for freelance nurse, but several people did say defense lawyer. And the correct answer is D, a freelance nurse. A freelance nurse. Now I wonder if that means she used freelances. No? Okay. I make my own fun. Final question. I know, you're welcome. Giving thanks that Sally's going to finally stop today. Number 10. Our guest tonight, Tommy Cook, had a recurring role on which of the following shows? Now, I told you weren't allowed to cheat, so hopefully you did your research before the program, or at least read the announcement, and knew that A, yes, he was on The Adventures of Red Ryder. B, he was also on Blondie, and no one selected it by itself, but yes, He was also on C, The Life of Riley. So the correct answer is D, all of the above. Nice job to the 5 of you that selected that on the poll. Well done. Frank, that was highly enjoyable. You still got me to giggle, and I very much enjoyed that.
That was delightful. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Frank. You seem to have more and more fun with these quizzes, especially with the answers. So it makes great fun for all of us. So
bonus points all around.
Bonus points all around. Well done, everyone. I am going to stop recording now as we move into the business portion of our meeting.